All right, let's talk about it. If you're here, it's probably because you're trying to nail the IELTS speaking test, but you feel like you've just slammed into a brick wall. Well, today, we're not just going to talk about that wall. We're going to give you the tools to smash right through it. So let's get into it.
First off, let's get one thing straight. If you're frustrated with your score, you are definitely not alone. It's this super common thing where you feel like your conversational English is pretty good, and then, bam, you get a score that just feels wrong. Trust me, it's a shared struggle, and today we're going to figure out exactly why it happens, and more importantly, how to fix it.
And yep, there it is, the number. 5.5. It's that infamous intermediate plateau. It's the score that basically says, yeah, you can communicate, but you're not really impressing anyone yet. This number, right here, this is the wall we're breaking down today.
So what's an examiner actually hearing when they give out a 5.5? Well, this slide nails it. It means you can get your point across, sure, but there are hesitations, you're sticking to simple, safe vocabulary, and when you try to use more complex grammar, you kind of trip over your words. That gap right there, that's what we need to close. Which leads us to the million-dollar question, right? How do you make that leap from just getting by to scoring in that high-band 7.0 territory and beyond? And let me tell you, it has almost nothing to do with having a perfect accent. It's all about strategy.
So our first move is to understand the game itself. The entire speaking test is incredibly short. We're talking 11 to 14 minutes. That's it. But every single second counts. So let's dissect this thing piece by piece.
The test has 3 very different parts. Think of it like this. Part 1 is the warm-up, the get to know you. Part 2 is your solo moment in the spotlight. And Part 3, that's the grand finale, where you have to prove you can think deeply. And each part has its own rules and its own hidden traps.
Okay, part 1 seems easy, but this is where a lot of people slip up. The big trap is giving short, lazy answers. The examiner asks where you're from, and you just say, London. Mistake. The goal isn't just to answer. It's to immediately show off your fluency. For every question, you should be aiming for 2 to 3 solid, complete sentences.
Now for part 2, the cue card. And oh man, the panic is real. The number one mistake people make is trying to write out full sentences in their 1 minute of prep time. Why is that bad? Because then you just end up reading your answer and it sounds robotic. The real goal is to jot down a few keywords to guide a structured story with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
And this right here, this is the biggest level up moment in the test. Part 3 is no longer about you. It's about the world, about ideas. The trap is to keep telling personal stories. The goal is to shift gears and discuss broader topics, showing you can think critically and use more sophisticated language. This is where you really impress the examiner.
Okay, so now that we know the structure of the test, we need to get inside the examiner's head. If you want a high score, you have to know exactly what they're listening for. And that brings us to the 4 pillars of your score. Seriously, this is the most important part of this whole explainer.
And there they are. Fluency and coherence, lexical resource, which is just a fancy word for vocabulary, grammatical range, and pronunciation. And what's the first thing you notice? They're all split evenly, 25% each. That means you can't just be good at one. If you neglect any of these areas, it's going to pull your whole score down.
So what does a band 7 actually look like? Well, for fluency, it's about speaking smoothly, without tons of awkward pauses. For vocabulary, it's about sprinkling in some less common words and phrases. For grammar, it's showing you can use a mix of simple and complex sentences. And for pronunciation, it's just about being clear and having natural-sounding intonation. No one is asking for perfection. They just want to see capability. All right, theory's over. We know the rules of the game. We know how it's scored. Now for the really fun part, the actual practical tools you can start using today to build that high score performance. Let's open up the toolkit. First tool up, for that part 2 long turn, you've got to use the PPF technique. It's simple. Past, present, future. This little structure is pure genius because it automatically forces you to use different verb tenses, which is a huge tick for your grammar score. Plus, it keeps your 2-minute talk super logical and easy to follow.
But what about that monster, part 3? The part where you have to give these really developed, analytical answers on the spot. A simple yes or no is not going to fly. So how do you build a sophisticated response right there under pressure?
The secret weapon is a framework called the AREA method. It's a 4-step plan to build the perfect answer. It starts, logically enough, with A for answer. The very first thing you do is state your main point directly.
No beating around the bush.
Next up, R is for reason. You've stated your opinion, but now you have to explain why you think that. This is where you give the logic behind your answer.
Then comes E for example. You've given your answer and your reason, now prove it. Give a concrete, real-world example. This shows the examiner you can connect abstract ideas to actual situations.
And finally, the second A stands for alternative. This is the pro move that takes your answer from good to great. You briefly mention a different point of view or an alternative thought. It shows you're a flexible, balanced thinker. Use the AREA method and you'll sound brilliant every time.
Now, this is one of my favorite hacks because it's so easy. This is all about upgrading the little words that connect your ideas. Instead of saying but for the 10th time, try swapping in conversely. Instead of another and, try furthermore. These small changes instantly make you sound more fluent and sophisticated. Okay, 2 final powerful techniques for you. For pronunciation, try shadowing. You find a short clip of a native speaker and you talk right along with them, trying to copy their rhythm and intonation exactly. It's amazing for sounding more natural. Second, and this one is a game changer, record yourself. I know, no one likes the sound of their own voice, but do it. Listen back. You will be shocked by the little mistakes you never even knew you were making. It is the best way to become your own coach.
So we've covered the test structure, the scoring criteria, and a whole toolkit of strategies. But none of that matters if you don't have the right mindset when you walk into that room on test day.
And this is the most critical takeaway of all. This is not a casual chat with a friend. It's a performance. You have a tiny 14-minute window to walk on stage and showcase the very best version of your English. You have to practice, you have to rehearse, and then you have to go in there and deliver. So that's the roadmap. We've laid it all out. The question is no longer if you can break that 5.5 plateau, it's how you're going to do it. Are you going to drill that PPF technique for part 2? Are you going to master the AREA method for part 3? What's your first move?